Okay. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to hop on this Zoom. I know it was kind of last minute, but as I was thinking about doing a Facebook Live, I was like, then I can't see other people. We can't interact as much. And I thought that this would be a better format to get on here and kind of demonstrate how to work with your chords and how to do it. Because honestly, guys, it's super simple. And again, I'm going to reiterate from the first video, I am not a super duper chord expert. I just, as I am working with clients, God literally like downloads information in my head and just starts giving me insight and helping me explore things. And I share it. I don't hold it in very long. I explore it a little bit and then I blast it out because I feel people need to know it. With energy work in general, and especially chords, guys, it's simple. It doesn't have to be complicated or convoluted. Energy shifts really easy as soon as you identify and ask it to do what you want it to do. And so I know that there's a lot of people out there that feel that things have to be difficult. I know that's something that we have a lot of those underlying beliefs. And I know my mom texted me, she's like, it can't be that simple. I'm like, but it can be that simple. So if that's one of the beliefs that you have or one of the kind of blocks that you're feeling, let's look at that. You might have a chord to that belief. Let's look at letting that go. But it really, really is simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need to overthink it or make it some crazy convoluted thing. It doesn't have to be that hard. And when you boil it down to it with an energy work, intention is everything. So if you are intending to do something, you're not going to mess it up. So give yourself permission, just like with most of us use essential oils. With your oils, it's really hard to do it wrong. And so same thing with, as you're working with your energy, it's really hard to do it wrong. And so just as long as your heart is in the right place and your intention is pure, you're going to be okay. You're not going to screw it up. And that's, I truly believe that because I've seen so many different energy techniques and so many different things, and they all work as long as the person that's working on it, that they're in a good place and they're trying to help. So with that in mind, let's go forward with this. So I'm going to do a little recap for anybody that might have missed my first video within the group on chords. So chords are just energetic connections we have with different people.
I got it.
Here, hold on. I'm going to mute everyone and then I will unmute once I'm done explaining and we're going to do more participating. So with chords, these are just going to be energetic connections that we have to people. They can be to places, they can be to objects, they can be to specific beliefs or thought patterns. They can be to living and deceased people. It's energy to energy, and since everything has energy, you could connect to anything. And some people might be more prone to connect to other things. We've all seen people that are just like animal whisperers, like animals just love them. They're able to easily connect, and you're like, man, like you're meant to be around the animals. And some people just have that connection. Some people don't. Some people are like, get that dog away from me. And so we all have those different things that we're going to connect stronger and easier to than others. And that's just part of our individuality and our gifts. So as I'm talking about this, I am going to use my personal belief terminology. Please translate this into your own personal belief terminology, whatever feels comfortable for you. Please don't get hung up if you don't agree with my terminology, because it's not about the terminology, it's about your understanding and your beliefs. And so just please keep that in mind as I'm using that. I'm just going to use what I use because it's easier than stopping and replacing it, to try and be universally accepted. But I don't do it to offend. I just do it because that's my belief system. I'm not trying to push it on you, but just substitute your own vocabulary and what you're comfortable with. Now, it's a good thing to have chords with people because we want to connect. Chords is all about connection, but we want to have positive connections. So in the testing within our holistic group, I tested people that volunteer that wanted to get tested. I tested if they had any positive chords that needed to be balanced. Now that test was not identifying all of your positive chords. That was only identifying the chords that are positive that need some balancing. They need a little TLC. And so you probably have more positive chords than what the number that showed up. That might be your number. You might need to balance all of them. But we all have, you know, different amount of chords. There's going to be some people that their inner circle is little bitty, and there's going to be some people that their inner circle is big. I have about 20 positive chords with people. And I actually haven't gone through and identified. I actually just checked. I was like, I wonder how many positive chords I have. And it was 20. I was like, wow, okay. But I've been testing for everyone else, so I haven't had time to do that for myself. But we can have lots of positive chords. And these are typically going to be ones with close familial relationships in most cases, or very close friends, or, you know, like a spouse or life partner or whatever, something very close. So this is not going to be like, oh, I have a positive chord with my next door neighbor just because they live next door. If I only say hi to them when we're getting our mail, right? That's not going to be, you know, we might have a little chord for that second while we're connecting and saying hi, but that chord's going to disappear super quick. Okay. So when we're looking at positive chords, use your intuition, guys. You know who these chords are with. You can also use your muscle testing. So I've shown you how to do your fingers, or you can do the sway test. And I will tell you, just start close and start working out, and you will easily be able to identify those. So I'm going to show you real quick with the sway test how you can identify and what the wording would be for doing your chords or identifying your positive chords. So let's look at that first. So if you guys want to, if anybody is able to, you can either test with your fingers. I'm going to stand up and do the sway test to show people that struggle with the finger method. But you want to identify, so you would say something like, okay, so I'll do my chords, my positive chords. So is one of my positive chords Matt? Yep, because that's my husband. Okay, Kenzie? Yep. Do you see how it's pushing me forward? So on the sway test, it's going to push you forward. If you're doing your hands, you're going to get a strong hold. Okay, so that's how you can identify your positive ones. If you are trying to find your positive chords that need to be balanced, then you're going to say, okay, do I have a positive chord that needs to be balanced? No, mine are all balanced. So anybody on the group that's maybe in video, do any of you have positive chords that needed to be balanced that would like to volunteer? Okay, would anybody like to volunteer? And we'll work on you. Okay, Dana, we'll grab you real quick. So Dana, I'm going to unmute you. Maybe. There we go. Hey, there's a little bit. Okay. So Dana, how many positive chords did you have that needed balancing?
4.
Okay, so Dana had 4. So I'm just going to test. We're going to test for Dana. So let's try to identify. So who came to your mind when you saw that 4? Do you have some names that came to mind?
Joe.
Joe. Okay, so that's one of them. Yep.
Lori.
Lori. Yep.
Desi.
Nope.
Earl.
Earl. Yep.
Ada Ruth.
Ada Ruth. Okay. So those are your 4. Okay, so you can either muscle test or you can intuitively know who those 4 are. Those are typically going to be 4 people, or your positive ones that need balancing, that either there's been some history of some conflict or misunderstandings or unmet expectations in the past, or, you know, stuff that isn't resolved, things like that. Those are going to be indicators that those love chords, those positive chords, are going to need balancing. Okay. So Dana, you have your 4 people. So now once you identify your 4 people, you're going to want to check, can we release them all at once? Or can we balance, sorry, wrong thing. We're not on negative ones yet. Can we balance them all at once?
What?
Can we balance them all at once? No. Or can we, hold on, Jennifer, I'm going to mute you real quick. Can we balance them all at once? Or do we need to balance them individually? So most often when we're balancing positive chords, we're going to need to do it individually. Now, I typically do this through visualization. Okay, so Dana, I'm going to have you close your eyes. So anybody that's here, go ahead, close your eyes, and I want you to think of maybe person number 1 on your list that needs to be balancing. So Dana, who are we going to be working with? Who's our first chord we're going to work on?
Probably Joe.
Okay, and that's your husband, right? He just recently passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a great example because we can have chords to loved ones that they've passed away. And this has been very fresh. So Dana, thank you so much for being brave and letting us use your example. So we're going to go ahead and close our eyes. So everyone that is participating, close your eyes. And Dana, and I'm able to kind of feel what these chords feel like. You might have a picture in your mind that pops up of, ooh, this looks like a big tangled mess, or this looks like it's a super short chord, or it might look super long and skinny, or it might look like a cone, or it might look like kind of bubbles along the thing. So Dana, let's tune in. This chord with Joe. It feels like it doesn't know where to go. It needs to get redefined. Okay. And so I want you first, we're going to untangle that and just release any strife that's in the past. So just ask that chord, just say, please untangle.
Please untangle.
Okay. So we're going to test, is that untangled? Yep. Okay. So typically when I'm looking at chords, when I'm feeling them, they feel like just white light. Sometimes there'll be different shades, different colors. I found that especially as relationships change drastically, death, divorce, something, but there's still that connection there, it helps to change the color of the chord. So let's change Joe's color. Let's see what color would be best for that chord to be. Okay, purple. So just a nice, whatever purple color you like, and I want you just to imagine that chord going up to heaven. Joe's there, and your chord is there. It's still connected. He's still there, but it's nice in a bright white purple now. It's flowing nice and smooth. The light in there is just good. You feel that?
Yes.
Okay. Do we need to put any filters on this chord? Yes. So Dana, I want you to kind of imagine, you just need a filter that is where the chord connects to your heart. Just kind of like thinking like an air filter, what you put in for your air conditioner, right? Imagine that going right where you connect. And that filter is just going to just help you feel his love through that, since you're in different places now.
Yeah. Okay.
And just kind of translate it so that you can understand it a little bit better and you can receive it a little bit better. Okay.
Okay.
So take a deep breath in after you're done imagining that. Okay. Okay. Is Joe's chord balanced? Yes. So once you're done with your visualization, then you can test, is this balanced? And you can get a yes or a no. Okay. Now with the filters, typically I feel that most people need filters on both ends, especially on our chords of love, because we're not always giving love in a way that they can receive it and vice versa. And so that filter kind of acts as a translator or a filter so that it's a more peaceable interchange and more loving interchange, okay? So as you're balancing those chords, keep that in mind. Now you might not see all the chords, just you can go through the things. Is it tangled? Is it a good consistency? We'll check this on Dana's next person. So the chord, you want it to be nice and flexible, that it can stretch out and come together. You don't want it rigid like a PVC pipe. That's going to happen sometimes when it's just like a relationship has to look like this and it has to be defined like this and it has to be exact. You want the light to be flowing nice and smooth back and forth, and you want it to be consistent size on both ends. Okay. So Dana, let's look at your next one. Who was the next person on your list? Was it Lori?
Lori.
Okay. So that's your daughter, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So everyone go to the second person on your list if you have a second person. And we're going to go and we're going to picture, let's look at this chord. And as you close your eyes and as you tune into that person that you've got a chord with, you kind of will know. It'll pop into your head. Ooh, it feels a little dirty. We need to clean this out a little bit. Or it feels tangled. We need to untangle this. And if you're not feeling it, that's totally fine. You can just, again, go through your little checklist. So the first thing we're going to check, it does feel a little tangled. So let's just ask it, Dana, just tune in, just ask it to untangle.
Untangle.
Okay. That's good. It feels like it could be cleaned out just a little bit. So go ahead and just imagine that white light just going through and just cleaning it out nice and clean and just getting any gunk out. Okay, next thing, it feels like it just needs to be just a little bit shorter. It feels almost like it's just kind of droopy, like women after we've had too many kids and breastfed too many kids and gets a little droopy. It just gets a little too stretched out sometimes. And so it feels like it just needs to get a little bit, just a little bit shortened, just a little bit. And then we're gonna go ahead and put filters on both ends. So where it connects to you and where it connects to your daughter. And that's just so whatever she sends your way is gonna be filtered through perfect love and light. And whatever you send to her is gonna be filtered through perfect love and perfect light, okay? Take a deep breath in and let it go. Okay, is Lori's cord balance? Yes, okay. So does that help? Do you guys have any questions? You can either type it in a chat or you can raise your hand if you have questions on balancing the positive cords. We're all good? Okay, so we're gonna go on to negative cords because that's a few more steps, but the balancing of the positive cords is just something, this is maintenance, guys. This is not something that boom, you're going to do it once and it's good forever. You're constantly making connections. Those connections are constantly changing and being influenced because there's going to be two people involved at least that are going to have different choices and different experiences. So just be mindful. If you feel like, why am I just having a really hard time with my mom all of a sudden? Like we were doing good and now like things are really crazy. Tune into that love cord with your mom and see what might need to be adjusted. Okay? Pam, go ahead.
Can I have a positive and a negative cord with the same person then?
Yes, you can. And that typically they'll be identified separately though. Okay, so when we're looking at a positive cord, we are only looking at the positive cord. What is going to be beneficial for both of you, this is typically going to be a heart-to-heart cord. Sometimes if you're like, maybe you're a teacher or a doctor or a medical professional or someone that's really, you know, close connections, you might connect to other parts of the body. But in general, just for visualization, I usually just look heart to heart. And you can have positive connections. Like if you're a teacher and you have, you know, a class full of third graders that you just love, you probably will have connections with them. But now it's the summer, so those connections probably should release and move on. Because that's not something like, you can still love somebody without having a cord with them. Those love cords are like, these are your core cords. So that's why they're the more vital people. Yes, Debbie.
Hi. So also a question regarding the negative cords. When you were talking about like some are giving and some are receiving, I'm not clear on that.
Yep. I will cover that in just a second.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So Dana, I'm going to go ahead and we'll use you for the negative cords as well. So any other, B has a question. B, go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like my fingers never break apart when I'm actually doing that.
Okay.
Testing that way.
Okay. So are you able to get positive or negative with the sway test?
Yes.
Okay. Then I would just stick with that until your body sometimes you might have an overly strong positive that there's not a lot coming through. So you might need to kind of be able to lower some defenses, so to speak, to allow that positive and negative to happen with your hands. So just if the sway test gives you accurate answers, just use that. And then Jennifer says pendulums are really helpful for that. So yeah, if you constantly are getting negatives or you're constantly getting positives, the pendulum can be very helpful. Or the sway test can be very helpful on that.
What's the pendulum? I don't remember that.
The pendulum is it's a little, usually it's a stone or I actually moved mine away from my desk because I don't use it very often. A little stone or a piece of metal that's hanging from a chain. You can even use a necklace, but anything that's weighted, and it will give you positive and negative answers. There's a really good video in the group. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. So Jennifer's holding up a pendulum. There's a really good video that Kim Overpeck did in our group about pendulum use. So
okay,
check that out.
I remember it. Thank
super helpful if you're not getting clearer results with muscle testing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. Okay. So let's move on to the negative chords, because that can be a little bit trickier, and those typically need a little bit more maintenance. Just because people will negatively chord, because it's all in our subconscious. The negative chords typically are on a subconscious level. And so it's not that you're intentionally sending out chords to people, or that you're consciously accepting chords from people. And we'll cover that what that means, Debbie, in just a second. But it's happening on a very subconscious level. But those subconscious chords can create a lot of havoc and problems in your life. So first off, let's talk about what a negative chord is. So this is just going to be a negative energetic connection. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as like a hook, or like an energy vacuum, emotional vacuum. It's just any negative energetic connection. And so what's going to happen is these happen as we interact with people. So let's say I'm at the grocery store and the guy in front of me was like super jerky and mean to me because my kids were being loud and obnoxious. And he hurt my feelings and I went home and I was just so mad. So there's going to be a negative chord from that interaction. Now, in normal circumstances, that should fall off, disconnect on its own without me having to do anything, okay? Just because you go on with life, you forget that the guy was a jerk, there's another problem, whatever, it falls off, you're good to go. But let's say that I sit on that. I let it fester about how much he was a jerk, and it just keeps eating at me, and I'm feeding that cord energy, right? I'm giving that man more power, and that energetic exchange more power. And so more energy means, hey, I'm giving lifeblood to that energy cord. And so instead of it naturally falling off, I have to be purposeful and go in and identify it and then release it. So be mindful of that. Somebody ticks you off, just let it go. So as we're having just mild interactions, both positive and negative, those chords will happen, but they should just kind of fall off on their own accord. Sorry, my hair's driving me a little nuts today. So let's look at the chords. So the main two we're going to be identifying are giving and receiving chords. And this is just a way to kind of define what is going out from us, what we energetically are putting out to someone or something. Hold on, let me mute everyone. So that's what we're giving out. Okay, so think of it as reaching out with your hands and you're holding on to something. Okay, that's a giving out. So a giving out chord would be something like, so if you constantly are looking to blame someone or something for your woes, your bad health. Oh, it's because my grandma smoked and I was exposed to secondhand smoke and it's her fault that I now have asthma. Whatever, bad example, but something like that where you're putting the blame on someone else. You're in victim mode mentality. You're giving away your power. And so if you feel powerless, if you feel that you don't have control over anything, if you feel like, woe is me, everything happens to me, you might be giving out too many chords because you're giving out power to other people and other things, okay? You're not taking your own power. Does that make sense? The receiving is when people plug into you. So, Pam, can I have a negative chord of money? You totally can. You can have a negative chord to any person, living or dead. You can have a negative chord to any belief or any object or any concept. You can have a negative chord to a specific object. You can have a negative chord to a specific place. You can have a negative chord to a specific memory or a specific situation. And so, because those all have energy. So if anything has energy, which is everything, you can chord to it, okay? And so keep that in mind. Like really, you need to have, as you're thinking about these chords, don't just think of like if you had like 85 negative chords, that doesn't mean that there's 85 people out there that you've either wronged or they've wronged you. That's not what it is at all. You could have, if you, with your spouse, you could have, like, if you've got a tumultuous relationship or you're going through a hard time, you could have 50 negative chords there going on. And a positive chord because you still love him even though he's being a jerk. But it really is broad what you can plug into, okay? It's just like you have the end of that cord is a universal plug that plugs into anything. Doesn't matter what country you're in or place you're in, it can plug into anything. Same thing, you're not gonna be like, money's not gonna plug into you because money doesn't have a choice to choose to plug into you, but things that have a choice, like a pet, someone you love, a person, guy at the grocery store, whatever, they can plug into you. But something inanimate does not have a choice. It cannot choose to plug into you. Does that make sense? Okay. So as we are looking at these chords, the first thing, I've kind of narrowed it. The first thing for you guys is you have the first step done. You know how many you have giving and you know how many you have receiving. Now that number can change on a day-by-day basis, okay? So be open to that. Know that that's going to change. I've been releasing chords daily because I've been testing for a whole heck of a lot of you because I love it. I love it. I wish I had the energy to do it all the time. I love it. Oh, hold on, we got to meet someone. But again, it takes energy. I think I did over 200 testing for you guys. And so there were some chords that happened and I had to release them every day. And that's okay. That's okay. It's not a bad thing to release them on a daily basis because people don't know that they're plugging into you, okay? So now that you know how many giving and how many receiving, first we need to identify if we can release all of these at one time, release them all like today or whatever day you're doing it. Can I release these all without negative side effects, okay? Because if you have 200 plus or even if you had 10 plus, it doesn't matter, but based on your energy reserves, you need to know that you can release those without having negative side effects, okay? So once you have your number, first thing you're gonna test for, and if someone's gonna be super awesome and write these down for me and send me notes, we can do a little recap in the video, as video post. But number one, can I release these all at once without negative side effects, okay? Most often you probably will get a yes. If you get a no, just test how many can I release without negative side effects. And you can do that with the finger method. So let me show you how you count. Let me get big real quick and then, okay. So, you would just count, and I usually count by 5s or 10s. So let's say I've got 100 chords. Can I release them all today without negative side effects? And the answer is no. Then I would count, how many can I release today without negative side effects? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, okay? Then I'm gonna count 31, 2, 3, okay? So 33 I can release without negative side effects. Does that make sense so you just practice your testing. You can do the same thing with the sway, okay? So let me show you. We've got 100. How many can I release all today without negative side effects? No. How many can I release? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would count and I would just wait for my body to go forward. So 10, 20, 30, okay? 31, 2, 3, okay? So it pushed me forward on the 30 and then the 3, okay? So you can count with both methods, okay? It just takes practice. I know I probably make it look super easy, but it just takes practice. It's not rocket science. It's just being and doing it on a regular basis so that you are, so that you're getting used to it. Like it's just like brushing your teeth. You don't even think about that you have to go up and down in circles and, you don't even think about it, right? We brush our teeth and we don't even think twice about it. Same thing once you practice the muscle testing, if you're doing it on a daily basis, it's going to be super easy, okay? So we identified that how many we can release. And then next thing we need to check is, do we need to identify any of these negative chords before we release them? Now the identifying is important because sometimes you might need to be aware that there was a negative connection there. It might need a little bit more validation that negative chord was there. And so you can test how many of these do I need to identify. And you can break it down. How many do I need to identify? Any of the giving chords? Do I need to identify any of the receiving chords? And based on that, you can go through and say, okay, are these all from people? Are these all from living people? Are these from, is this to money? Is this to my car? Is this to Hawaii, the vacation I took 20 years ago? Stuff will pop up into your mind. Trust it. It doesn't pop up randomly, I promise you. So let's go ahead and, we're going to go ahead. Dana, are you okay being a continued subject? Okay. So Dana is going to be our test subject. So Dana, tell me your cord count.
I had 84 negative, half giving, half receiving.
Okay, perfect. You're like a perfect example. Okay, so on Dana, so first we're going to test, can we release all 84 now without negative side effects? Yes. Now, that doesn't mean I can release them without identifying them. We still have to do that next step to qualify that. So do we need to identify any of these before we release them? Yes. Any of the giving? Yes. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to identify 5 of the cords she's giving out. And do we need to identify any of the receiving? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4 of her receiving cords need to be identified. Now, the receiving cords typically are going to be by something, again, that has a choice, something living that has a choice to plug into you. The giving can be pretty much anything that you're corded with, okay? So, Dana, I want you to think of, so we've got 5 of the giving that we need to identify, correct? That's what I said? So, Dana, let's see, how many are connected to people? 1, 2, 3. So 3 are connected to people. Are they all living? No. It's one. Okay, so 1 is your husband. And then think of 2 other people that you might be giving out negative cords to.
Might be my mom.
Mom. Okay, yeah, mom.
A coworker.
Okay, the coworker. Yeah. Okay, so we've got husband, mom, and a coworker. Then the other 2 things, let's see what those are. Are they, do you have any pets, Dana?
Yes, I do.
Okay, are they pets? Okay, 1 is a pet. So name some pet names.
JJ.
Okay, it's JJ.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the next one, is it something living? Yes. Animal. Okay, it's a place. So it's a negative cord to a place. So I would start when you're trying to identify stuff, always start with the in and go out. So think of start with maybe your home and then, okay, the place I was born or the place I lived before or whatever.
I think it's probably work.
Is it work? Yes. Okay. So they're negative cord with work. Okay. So do we need to release them individually? Yes. So now that we have those 5 identified, and though you had great, Dana, I couldn't have gotten better examples here. Nice diversity there. So we've got 3 people. 1 has passed away, a pet, and a place. So first off, we're going to do, does it matter the order that we release them? No. So do we need to identify where they're originating at on Dana's body? Yes. All 5? Yes. Okay. So this is going to be a little bit more interesting. So sometimes you might need to identify, and in Dana's case, this is the truth, where that cord is originating on her body. Because right now we're talking about giving cords. So the first one with your husband, right? That was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So this cord is originating from above the waist, below the waist. Okay. Is it on the right side? Left side is on the center. So I'm just imagining a body and I'm just going down from the belly button. So is it belly button, uterus, root chakra, legs? Okay, knees, both knees. So the cord is connected from both knees out to husband. Now, if we looked up what knees emotionally symbolize, we could get even more information there. But for sake of time, we're not going to do that. Dana, you can.
I can already tell you.
Oh, tell us.
Moving forward.
Yep, that's.
Not bendable.
Yep, not exactly.
Not flexible.
So she's got a negative cord that's connected to both of her knees. And that's also symbolic. If your knees are together, you can't progress, right? You can't move. you're hogtied. You're stuck. Okay. So what we're going to do is, now that we have that spot, we're going to close our eyes. We're going to do a visualization. So if you've got a negative cord that you've identified or you can think of in your mind, you can go ahead and do this along with us. So let's go ahead, Dana, and imagine that cord. Now we're going to just unplug it. So just kind of act like you're pulling a cord out. Some people actually like to physically get on their body and act like they're pulling it out, or you can just do it in your mind, whatever works best for you. So pull that cord out, and we're going to send it up to Christ and let him take care of that. And then release it from Joe as well and send that to Christ and let him take care of it. Now we're going to have the light of Christ come in and heal both of the spots where the cord was connected on both people, that they can return to their perfect pattern, that they're completely sealed and healed and strengthened. Okay, let's check. Is it released? Is it healed? Yes. Okay, so take a deep breath and let it go. Okay, is that cord released? Yes. No, is that cord released? No. Oh, it's not released. Is there another one? Ooh, there's another one behind it. It's a secret cord. The cord that we just released, is that released? Yes, but there's another one behind it. Does that need to be released now? Yeah, okay. So we're gonna do the same visualization. It's in the same place. Let's go ahead. Imagine that, unplugging it. So I like to pull out the cord instead of cutting or severing it. You'll hear that in a lot of situations or examples of cord cutting. I don't feel like it leaves people on the other end, or it leaves us wanting. And when we want something, when we feel something's missing, we're going to keep looking for something else to plug into, or they're going to look for something else to plug into. Okay. So I feel pulling it and then sending it up to Christ, heaven, God, whatever works for you. And then asking that those spots get healed on both people. Okay. Ask that the spots of connection are healed and sealed and return to the perfect pattern. Take a deep breath. Let it go. Okay. Is that release? Yeah. Okay. So that is good now. Now we're ready to go on. What was the next one? Was your mom?
Yes.
Okay. So mom, do we need to identify where that is on connecting on Dana's body? Yes. Okay. Above the waist? Yes. So right side, left side. So this is connected on the left side, which is very common. The left side typically symbolizes female connections. So on that left side, let's see, waist, heart, is it organ? It's just a body part. Shoulder. Okay. The left of your neck. Okay. That's where that is going out to mom. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have our visualization. We're going to imagine unplugging from the neck, unplugging from mom. We're going to send those both up to Christ in his perfect love to take care of them. We're going to ask that both spots on both people, there are spots on both people, be healed and sealed completely and return to their perfect pattern. We're going to fill it with light. I'm going to take a deep breath. Release it. And then we're going to check, is that released? Yes. Okay. So we'll let you do I think you had one more person. I'm going to let you do that on your own. We're going to do the next one was your pet. So this is going to be similar to what you would do for a person. So just let's identify where do we need to identify where it's JJ, right? Was that your dog's name?
Yes. JJ. Mm-hmm.
Was it a dog?
Yes.
Okay. So JJ, that's connecting from, above the waist, below the waist, right side, left side. Okay, so it's your left hip. And so we're going to just ask we're going to unplug from both you and JJ. We're going to send that up to Christ. We're going to ask that any needs be fulfilled through him. We're going to heal and seal both spots on both individuals. We're going to return them to their perfect pattern and strengthen them with light. Test, take a deep breath. Okay, is that released? Yes. Okay, now the last one was her workplace, right?
Yes.
So this is going to be a little different because it's a place, right? That place is not plugging into you. You're just plugging into it. Okay.
That's right.
So you're just going to say very similar. You're going to unplug from you, send it up to Christ, ask that he come and heal that connection spot. Oh, we didn't need to identify where this was. Heal and seal and return to its perfect pattern. Heal it up with light and strengthen it. Okay, take a deep breath. Let it go. Okay, is that released? Yes. Okay, so obviously the work is, it's inanimate. And so we don't need to necessarily take care of that other end. If it's somebody at work that you're connecting to, then you would want to heal that. But that's how you release those cords from the giving. Okay. Does anybody have questions on releasing giving cords? If you think of them later, you can post them in the chat box or in the post that I'll put in the group. Okay, so let's look at receiving cords. So these are cords that are coming into us from other things that they're just attaching wherever our energy is allowing it. And it's somebody else giving it out. Now, Dana, you had 4 that we needed to identify before releasing. So we're going to go ahead and identify those 4. Okay, so they're all people? Yes. All living? Yes. So these are 4 living people. So go ahead, let's throw me some names.
I know it's people I work with.
Okay. So you can, if you just have it in your mind, we don't have to throw them under the bus. So you can,
Okay.
like, person number 1, you got their name?
Yes.
Here? Okay, that's correct. Next one. You got it in your head?
Yes.
Okay, good job. Person number 3, you got it in your head?
Uh-huh.
Nope, not that one.
No, okay.
Try a different number 3.
Okay.
Okay, that one.
Okay.
And person number 4, they're not from work. They might be from work, but it's like you have another connection with this person as well.
Okay.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're good. Okay, so person number 1, we're going to do very similar to what we did with the giving out. Do we need to identify where where Dana is receiving these connections? No. I haven't found that really with receiving connections that we need to identify unless you know you have a problem area. If you know that you're having a lot of sciatic pain or a lot of shoulder pain or a lot of headaches and you've connected it that it's with cord pain, then you can go through and identify it that way. But since we're just looking at the cords as a whole, we're not going to identify. If you really wanted to, you can go through and identify, but we don't need to do it to release it. I'm all about efficiency. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to do another visualization. Do we need to do those individually? No. So we can take all 4 of those cords and release them at the same time. So Dana, I just want to have you imagine just going in and grabbing those 4 cords and unplugging them. Send them up to Christ. And then ask that he fulfill any need that person had for plugging into you. So that's the main difference. We can't unplug somebody that they're giving out. It's not up to us to unplug from them. Does that make sense? But we can unplug from us because they're giving it out. It's their choice. We don't want to go in and unplug someone else's thing that they're putting out. Okay. So, that's the only difference is that I ask that whatever they're seeking for from me, they're going to get from Christ because I can't give it to them. They don't need to be draining me from that energy. Okay. And so we're going to ask that we heal and seal those wounds completely in their perfect form and that the light comes in and strengthens it, that it's not a weak spot. We take a deep breath and we let it go. Okay, are those 4 cords released? Yes. Okay, so now can we release all remaining giving and receiving cords now without negative side effects? Yes. So the remaining cords, however many there are, I'm not going to do math today, go ahead, Dana, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. We're going to unplug all of them. Send them all up to heaven. Ask that Christ fulfill any needs that these people are seeking for from you. Heal and seal up all of those points, all those connection points to their perfect pattern, and strengthen with the light of Christ. And take a deep breath in and let it go. Okay, Dana, are there any negative cords remaining? No. Okay. So now Dana, all her cords have been released. We got that other one. Who was the third one? It was a 2-name name on your giving cords. It was after your mom. Do you remember who it was?
It was Earl.
Oh, okay. Did that get released too? Yeah. He got lumped in the bunch. But that way you can go through and just get the ones that need to be identified first, take care of those, and then you can take care of all those ones that are just kind of extra that don't necessarily need to be identified. And so once they're good, you should feel pretty good and light. It might feel a little bit different. You might have, because the connection is not the same as it used to be, people might feel a little different. Usually, I found that it's a less boat shaking experience when you do send it up to heaven and let Christ or God take care of that need that they're trying to plug into you for. They're not seeking that as much. You might still have people that want to come and keep plugging back into you just because it's habit or because they don't know any better. And so that's just why you kind of do a daily clean and just kind of like, okay, do I have any cords? Do we need to release them? And as you maintain it, it's easier and you usually have less to identify because you can just kind of go through, just like if you keep your house, if you keep it clean, if you spot clean every day, it's not going to get as dirty. Same thing with energy. Okay. So any questions on releasing the cords, identifying the cords or anything like that? You can either unmute yourself on video or on the phone, or type in the chat. I want to make sure that I'm going to look, I made a list to check. Let me go through this while you guys are thinking. So let's see. How do you know when you've released them all? That's a muscle test. So that's super easy. Just do your hands, or have I released all my negative cords? Yes. Okay. If it's a no, you'll go back. Okay. Or with the pendulum, you'll get a yes with the pendulum, whatever your yes looks like, or no. We clarified how to release them. And then Pam asked, can we have more than one to the same person? And yes, you can. So let's say you have, you've got a spouse, you've got some kids, you've got parents. You can have multiple cords with those people. Typically, you're only going to have one positive one, but you can have multiple negative ones. So if you have some history where there's some funky stuff that went on or just hurtful stuff, whatever, you can have repeated negative cords, okay? But again, those can release. And then oils that you can use when releasing cords, I would say whatever you really feel drawn to. I don't feel like you need a specific cord or a specific oil to release cords. I feel like you can just do it through your visualization and prayer. But if you want to use oils, let me see. So like releasing cilantro is really good for releasing. What else is good for releasing? Let's see. I'm looking at my little handy dandy book. We've got, let's see. Of course, they don't have release in here. But you can look in your book or you can even test if you want and test what oil would be beneficial to help you do that. If you find that thank you, Jennifer. Melaleuca, thyme, forgive, lemongrass. Yeah, any get rid of oil or like repellent type oil is going to be beneficial to help get rid of that stuff. Any cleansing oil is going to be good. There was something I was going to say with oils and I totally forgot, but that's okay. It'll come back to me later. So you can use oils if you want, you don't have to. If you that's what I was gonna say. If you have a connection spot, so if you have like a shoulder that's been hurting you for a long time and you find that you have a lot of cords there, and that's kind of your weak point, and people like the cords tend to end up there because it's at a lower frequency, you might need a specific oil to help shielding in that specific spot. I've had people that there was a connection that kept happening like right back here on the back shoulder neck area, and they had to put, I think it was lemongrass, on that spot to help shield and protect that spot from people reattaching their cords in that spot. So that's an instance where you might need a little oil help there in your cord removal. And then just a few more thoughts on cords to things other than people. Is you can have cords to objects. So like if you had a special blanket when you were a kid or a special stuffed animal, you can have a cord to that. Now, if more than likely it's probably going to be a giving cord where you're giving it out, because you're not going to have necessarily a positive cord with an inanimate object. You might be able to. I'm not going to say absolute truths here because I'm still exploring all of this and learning, but typically those are going to be more negative cords because we're relying on something outside of ourselves, right? Or outside of heaven. And that's kind of when that dissonance is going to happen, and we're going to have a little bit of being off balance somehow. So just be aware of that. But yeah, you can totally have cords to different objects, different thoughts, different concepts, and they can be, limiting beliefs. We hear that a lot. And just be aware, those can be released, those can be let go, and you can sever those ties. Just do it in a way that should be more lasting than just chop. That's what when I was first introduced to cords, it was just like, okay, you just imagine a big sword of light and you just chop everything. Well, what happened is it's almost like you cut off a head and 3 grow in its place. It almost made me more open for more cords attaching. So I have found that like the healing and the sealing really helps keep it closed so that you're not as open to further connections. It doesn't make you immune because connections are supposed to happen. And it's just kind of like our body was designed to deal with toxins. We just get it overloaded. So you just don't want to get to the point of overload. So let's see. Jennifer says, I have some pretty strong shields up. Anything else specific to help shield cords? So I have found, Jennifer, so I shield, my strongest shield I have found is when I imagine the Savior coming and he has a pitcher of liquid light that pours into my head and it fills me up with light all the way up through my body, and then it extends outside through my aura. And as I imagine that specifically for cords, like if I notice that there's a specific person that keeps cording to me, then I just ask that any cords that try to attach to me get sucked up in that light and shoot straight up to heaven. Okay, that's kind of what I've been doing, and it really has helped. It acts more like water on a duck's back. It just kind of goes right up to heaven, goes right past me, and then that way they can get what they're seeking from the divine source instead of what they think they see in me or what they think they need from me. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and it's been very effective. So Julia asked, not sure if you've explained that already, but how do we balance the cord? So Julia, I did that at the very beginning of how to balance a positive cord. So Dana was kind enough to let us use her as an example. And so you'll catch the recording and I'll show you, and you'll see how to balance a cord. Any other questions? Hopefully this was helpful and help you guys gain a little bit more clarity on cords. Again, this is not the end all be all of cords. There can be a lot more out there that I have yet to discover or learn about, or if you've learned something different, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just different. And everybody has different perspectives and different beliefs. So whatever works with you, play around with the language, play around with the pattern, but have that similar concept, because as we're unplugging, there's a space there. We've got to fill that space. We need to fill it with something good. So that's why I really like, sealing and healing that up and using the power of Christ to heal that, because he heals everything. He makes up that difference in my belief system. And so whatever that looks like for you, translate that into your own personal beliefs. So guys, thank you for taking the time out of your day. It's been so fun to see you guys, and maybe we'll have to do this again soon. I hope you guys all have a great day. Thank you so much, Dana, for being our guinea pig. I really appreciate your sweet, kind heart. And I hope you guys all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.